Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 11th of May. So how the days fly by us today. So it's bank holidays that throw me. Anyway, on that note, let's get on and look at the markets before we actually look at the technicals. Quick look at the fundamentals. So yesterday we saw the inflation data coming out there. Came out 0.1 lower on the core there, but aside of that, you need to refresh it. So actually it came out not on the core but on the CPI itself. Came out 0.1 lower. Actually came out 0.1 higher according to this on the core. However, it caused a selling of the US dollar initially. Weird reaction, only to see it given back later, as we can see technically in a moment. But unfortunately, whatever drives these markets, sometimes it does some weird old things. Anyway, today we got the Bank of England coming out at 12 o'clock, which that'll take us through. We got Bailey speaking at 12:30. Expectation is a 0.25% increase. It'll be quite an important meeting because there's an expectation of a slowdown of increases, but we'll see what materializes anyway. And then we got the US a second dose of inflation. This time the producers' price index, and again I would expect some volatility around this. I didn't expect the sort of volatility we saw yesterday, but there we go. We probably won't get very much today, but anyway, we'll see. Morning in, flow morning. Anyway, we'll see what comes there. And later on, then we got a Fed speaker. Now let's just check what he's speaking. Due to speak for financial stability and the climate. Okay, it's in Madrid. Not sure that'll do a great deal. Right. That's it for today on the news front. Looking then technically and daily wise, we're sitting here once again. Yesterday it ended up positive. Today it's already come off here. It's sold off again, and it's looking quite a mess. In fact, the way this is going, I do wonder whether it won't be able to stretch its legs here. The situation with the US dollar, etc., or say the US the debt that we're seeing in the US, that's not helping things at all here, and we could see a stronger dollar at some point as people sell other equities and etc. It sometimes forces a stronger dollar, so we've got to be a bit careful. We might see more movement. As we look at the euro at the moment, we've got a quad bottom there effectively. Now it might hold, but a break below this, well, we could see a much bigger correction altogether. There's a lot of areas around these points which it's broken my previous pivotal area which I drew on there. This is probably the new one, and the more important one to be looking at now is where we're sitting here. Now, break below that I think could be more bearish. On a monthly basis we could even see the euro correct even further, so we've just got to watch out for that. Okay, the pound's been largely stronger. Yesterday it was certainly pushing up and taking out the highs there at certain stages, but eventually it started selling quicker than the euro did. At the moment, still looking very strong overall, but we have just got this lower high, and there's just that sort of cracks below the surface there, and when you look at it on a daily basis, it's quite a mess. But again, I do wonder if we'll see it rolling backwards here, rolling further over. So it's put the lower high in, the cracks below the surface, and all these things that sort of point towards maybe a bigger correction, as I said, with the dollar potentially strengthening. We could see more of the same. Okay, US dollar yen. Well, the yen certainly was the area of safety yesterday, and we saw this sort of move quite strongly around the news. Thereafter it slowed up, but it didn't do what the others did. They retraced. This stayed strong, strong for the yen, that is, not for the dollar. It just held in there, and currently it's looking like it's a little bullish flag now. The shape of what we've seen before the flag isn't massively convincing, so perhaps we will see it pushing back up with it at some point, but it does look relatively weak at the moment. Aussie dollar, well, really yesterday, tale of two halves. It started selling off, then popped through the prior highs and is rolling back off again, so still got potential for the downside here. Now I was in a short. This took me out of the short, only to correct itself, and we see this a lot in news that's no news. In effect, when things have changed the same, you see this correction back to where it was. Anyway, it's looking still on the erring on the softer side here overall. As I said, I'm still looking at this bigger channel and wondering whether it will break down, and that's really where I'm looking for the potential trade today, or at least getting into a position. The only thing got to be a bit careful is, of course, the PPI later, only to get sort of another smash on the upside there, so we'll watch that carefully. US dollar CAD, well, just really consolidating. It's not really. It did have the intraday moves, of course, here, and but again, it's held on to its gains much more, so a lot stronger. Say intraday gains. Beg your pardon. It's here. This is a weekly bar, but oh no, it didn't. It gave it back just the same as everything else. Beg your pardon. Consolidated where it is at the moment, and not looking the best. In fact, it's looking slightly on the weaker side there as well now. As I said, this fake, I say fake news, but fake outs rather than proper breakouts. New Zealand dollar was looking at this yesterday, looking at the potential of that rolling over as well. We got the same sort of it moved up to its previous highs maybe now, but we will see. As I say, I do wonder if we'll get a stronger dollar. Euro pound again continuing down there this morning, so lots of euro yen I wanted to look at here. Euro yen breaking down now. We'll probably see the retail traders more and more out of this as it gets more in the direction they wanted it originally to be. It is correcting. It has put a lower high, and it's broken structurally. It's broken what was there. This really messed it up last week in terms of the price action. It pushed up there. It had a shot at pushing up, just couldn't do it, and has rolled off. And it looks on the softer side for sure. Already pushing off, and we could just see a correction of this. Hasn't hit the R1, so sorry, the R1, the daily pivot. So the S2 could come into play on that. Okay, and that could be a trade post 8 o'clock on the downside. Right, that's the currencies for a moment. Let's have a quick look through and look at the other markets briefly. Looking at gold, it's the currencies, and then he starts looking at gold, which is arguably a key currency. Same sort of situation yesterday. In fact, it ended up on a down bar there yesterday. Couldn't even hold the gains, but it is once again looking rather messy on this 4-hourly picture. Hourlies, well, there you go, there was the news, then it came back again. I would look, I did trade a bit of the retracement on, actually it was on the Aussie dollar, but I would look to do similar if we saw similar action later today, if the news was to come in as expected. Okay, oil. Oil's staying consolidated where it is there yesterday. Didn't take too much of a hit, and it's a bit in no man's land for me at the moment. It's neither near the top nor near the bottom anymore, so sitting there halfway up. Okay, CSI 300 remains bearish. For me, it's still looks like it's got further downside potential there. It did gap up, but couldn't hold on to those gains, whereas the Nikkei, well, still sitting there in that consolidated phase. At some point could be looking to shift upwards. The Nifty's still bullish. I know it's pulled off a bit this morning at the moment. We'll see what happens, but it's still erring on the bullish side. I took a measure on that and still got further upside potential. At some point obviously it will want to retrace. Aussie 200 really just consolidating, nothing much to be spoken about. The S&P's consolidating yesterday, real weird old day. If you look at it, it was a case of up and down, green, red, green, and as I say, another mess, only to continue really. Well, actually it's continued the way against the way one would have imagined. But anyway, sitting up there, it's really good news if there's not further increases, hence the charge up there in the first place. Why it got sold, well, it's probably dawned on traders there's barely any difference in numbers. Anyway, Dow Jones, same consolidation here. Nasdaq, still my favorite bullish one of the US markets there, still got potential to push up. It's pushed on beyond its highs. It's outperforming the other markets there. The DAX then, looking at the DAX just still chopping along, but still around its highs, sort of. Big old move there. Caught all the markets yesterday with that news sort of flying through there. 1 o'clock, then 2 o'clock, we saw a sell-off on this, but recovered partially. There is a hint here of lower highs, lower lows, and it doesn't really show up quite so well. Perhaps it does on the 4-hourly, but on the daily it's not really too clear. But certainly that looks like it's a touch on the weaker side. The FTSE, just looking here, coming down. It's still, to me, this certainly looks on the weaker side, and we could on the when the cash market opens here, continuation. Be interesting to see what happens there on open. Right, so that's it for me this morning. I wish you a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now.